The moment I heard the lock click behind me, my heart stopped. It was not loud, it was not dramatic, just a simple, soft sound. But in that quiet hallway of her old house in Austin, Texas, it felt like thunder. I turned slowly and saw her standing there, her hand still resting on the door, her eyes locked on mine in a way they had never been before. I had only come over to fix the lights. Her name was Emily Parker. She was my landlady. She was 34, divorced, and lived alone in the small house next door to the garage apartment I rented. I was 26 and had been living there for almost a year. We were friendly. She always smiled when she saw me. Sometimes she brought me banana bread. Sometimes I carried her groceries inside. It was simple and normal. But that night did not feel normal. She had knocked on my door around 9. I remember because I had just sat down to watch a game. When I opened the door, she was standing there in soft gray sweatpants and a loose white shirt. Her hair was down, falling over her shoulders, and she looked tired but beautiful in a quiet way. She said the lights in her kitchen were flickering and asked if I could take a look. I had fixed a few things around the property before, so it did not seem strange. I grabbed my small toolbox and followed her. Inside her house, it smelled like vanilla candles. The place was warm and soft, with low lamps glowing in the living room. The kitchen lights were blinking like she said, bright one second and dim the next. I stepped onto a chair to check the fixture while she stood close, watching. I could feel her presence behind me, not touching me, but close enough that I was aware of every breath she took. After a few minutes, I found the loose wire and tightened it. The lights stayed steady. I stepped down and smiled. "Should be good now," I said. She did not answer right away. She just looked at me, her eyes softer than usual. Then she walked past me toward the hallway. "Actually," she said quietly, "there's one more light in the back room." I followed her without thinking. The back room was smaller. It used to be her office, I think. There was a desk, a bookshelf, and a single lamp in the corner that was not turning on. The air felt different back there, more private, more quiet. I checked the outlet. It worked fine. The bulb was burned out. I told her it just needed replacing. She stood there for a second, then walked to the door. That was when I heard the click. She locked it. My heart started pounding. I did not know why she locked it. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was habit. But when I turned and looked at her, I knew it was not just habit. She was leaning against the door now, her arms crossed loosely, her eyes not leaving my face. "Emily?" I asked softly. She walked toward me slowly, her steps calm and steady. I felt frozen. Not scared, just unsure. "I'm glad you came over," she said. Her voice was different, lower, more personal. "I always notice when you help me," she continued. "You're kind, Daniel." No one had said my name like that before. I swallowed and tried to stay calm. "It's no problem. I don't mind helping." She stopped only a few feet away from me, close enough that I could see the small scar near her collarbone, close enough that I could smell her perfume. "I know," she said. "That's why I trust you." The word trust made something shift inside me. There was silence between us, heavy but not uncomfortable. My mind was racing. I did not know what she wanted. I did not know what I wanted. I just knew that the air felt thick and charged. She reached up and touched my arm gently. Her fingers were warm. "Do you ever feel alone?" she asked. The question surprised me. It was not about the lights. It was not about rent. It was about something deeper. "Sometimes," I admitted. She nodded slowly. "Me too." Her hand stayed on my arm. My skin felt like it was on fire where she touched me. I should have stepped back. I should have said something smart. But I could not move. She looked down for a moment, then back up at me. Her eyes were not playful. They were serious, almost sad. "I don't usually do this," she said quietly, "but tonight I didn't want to be alone." The words hung in the air between us. I felt the weight of what she was saying. She was not just talking about fixing a lamp. She was talking about something else, something that had been building for months without me noticing. "I can leave if you want," I said, even though I did not want to leave. She shook her head slowly. "No. I locked the door because I didn't want you to." My heart pounded harder. She stepped even closer until there was barely any space between us. I could feel the warmth of her body through her shirt. My breath felt uneven. "Tell me to unlock it," she whispered. I looked into her eyes. I saw fear there, and hope. I knew that if I told her to unlock the door, everything would go back to normal. She would be my landlady again. I would be her tenant. We would smile politely and pretend this moment never happened. But if I did not say those words, nothing would ever be the same again. And the truth was, I did not want it to be the same. I opened my mouth to speak, and that was when someone knocked loudly on the front door of the house. The knock on the front door was loud and sharp, like it had been hit with anger. Emily froze. Her hand was still resting on my arm, but her body went stiff. The soft look in her eyes disappeared, and something else took its place. Worry. Maybe even fear. The knock came again, harder this time. "Emily, I know you're home." It was a man's voice, deep, familiar to her. I could tell by the way she closed her eyes for a second. My heart started racing for a different reason now. I stepped back slowly, giving her space. The heat between us shifted into tension. "Who is that?" I asked quietly. She did not answer right away. She walked past me and unlocked the back room door. Then she looked at me, her voice low. "It's my ex-husband, Ryan." The name hung heavy in the air. I had heard about him before, not details, just small things. She once mentioned he still stopped by sometimes to pick up mail. She never said more than that. The knock came again, followed by the sound of the doorknob shaking. "Emily, open the door." She took a deep breath and walked toward the hallway. I followed her without thinking. My chest felt tight. I did not know what I was walking into, but I could feel it would not be simple. When she opened the front door, Ryan stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. He was tall, broad shoulders, dressed in dark jeans and a black jacket. His eyes moved quickly and then landed on me. For a second, no one spoke. His jaw tightened. "Who's this?" he asked. I could feel the anger in his voice, even though he tried to hide it. Emily crossed her arms, trying to look calm. "He's my tenant, Daniel." He was fixing the kitchen lights. Ryan looked past her toward the kitchen as if checking if that was true. Then his eyes returned to me. "At 9 at night?" he asked. There was something sharp in the way he said it. I felt heat rise in my chest. I wanted to answer, but I did not want to make things worse. Before I could speak, Emily stepped forward slightly. "Yes, Ryan, at 9 at night." Because I asked him. There was strength in her voice now. Not the soft tone she had used with me earlier. This was different. Stronger. Ryan laughed quietly, but there was no humor in it. "You always did like asking for help," he said. "From anyone but me." The words felt personal. Old pain was hiding inside them. I suddenly felt like I was standing in the middle of something that started long before I ever moved into that garage apartment. "I'm just here to fix the lights," I said calmly. "I can head back to my place." Emily turned her head quickly. "No!" The word came out fast, almost desperate. Ryan noticed. His eyes narrowed. "Why not?" he asked her. The room felt smaller. The air heavier. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Emily looked at Ryan and then at me. There was something in her expression that made my stomach tighten. She was not just defending a tenant. She was protecting something else. "Because he's my friend," she said. The word friend did not sound simple. It sounded layered, full. Ryan's jaw clenched. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You move on fast." "I moved on 2 years ago," she replied. "You're the one who keeps coming back." Silence filled the room again. I could see the tension between them. This was not just jealousy. This was history, arguments, broken trust. Ryan looked at me again like he was measuring me. "You should be careful," he said quietly. "She doesn't make easy choices." Emily's face changed at that. Anger flashed across it. "That's enough," she said. "You don't get to come into my house and talk like that." For a second, I thought he might argue more, but instead he shook his head and stepped back toward the door. "Fine," he said. "I just came to grab the last box from the garage." She nodded stiffly. "It's by the back wall." He walked past us toward the garage door without another word. As soon as he disappeared, Emily let out a long breath. Her shoulders dropped slightly, like she had been holding tension for hours. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "You don't have to be," I replied. She looked at me, and the softness returned to her eyes. But this time, it was mixed with something else. Fear of losing control. Fear of wanting something she was not sure she should have. "He doesn't like when he sees me happy," she said quietly. The words hit me harder than I expected. "Are you?" I asked. She stepped closer again. Not as bold as before, but still close enough that I felt the warmth between us. "I was," she said. There was a pause, and I still am. The sound of something heavy dragging in the garage echoed through the house. We both knew Ryan was still there. Emily looked toward the hallway and then back at me. "I meant what I said earlier," she whispered. I didn't want to be alone tonight. My heart pounded again, but not from fear this time. I could see how fragile this moment was. One wrong move and everything could fall apart. The garage door opened and closed. Footsteps came toward the front again. Ryan stepped back into the living room, carrying a cardboard box. He did not look at either of us this time. At the door, he paused. "Lock up after I leave," he said. Then he walked out. The door closed behind him. The house went quiet. Emily stood there for a few seconds. Then she walked to the front door slowly and locked it. This time, the click of the lock did not feel sudden. It felt chosen. She turned around and looked at me. The same look from the back room was back on her face, but now it felt stronger. More certain. She took a few slow steps toward me, and without saying a word, she reached for my hand. When her fingers wrapped around my hand, everything inside me went quiet. The house was still. The only sound was the soft hum of the kitchen lights I had fixed earlier. Her hand was warm, steady, and sure. She did not look away this time. She held my hand like she had already made a decision. "Daniel," she said softly, "I don't want to keep pretending." My chest felt tight, not from fear, from the weight of what was happening. "Pretending what?" I asked, even though I already knew. "That we don't feel this," she replied. The word "feel" stayed between us. It was simple, but it carried months of small moments. The way she smiled a little longer when I paid rent. The way I noticed when she wore her hair down. The way we both found reasons to talk, even when there was nothing important to say. She stepped closer until our hands were pressed between us. I could feel her heartbeat through her palm. "I tried to ignore it," she said. "After the divorce, I told myself I needed space. I told myself I would not depend on anyone again. But every time you knocked on my door to help with something, I felt safe." Safe. No one had ever used that word about me before. I swallowed and looked into her eyes. They were not playful. They were honest. "I didn't plan this," she continued, locking the door, asking you to stay. "I just knew if I let you walk out tonight, I would regret it." The truth in her voice made it hard to breathe. I thought about my small apartment next door. The quiet nights. The empty bed. The way I always heard her footsteps through the wall and wondered what she was doing. I had told myself it was nothing, that she was just my landlady. But standing there now, I knew it was never just that. "I don't want to regret it either," I said quietly. Her lips parted slightly when I said that. For a moment, we just stood there. The air between us felt warm and charged. She lifted her other hand and placed it gently on my chest, right over my heart. "It's beating so fast," she whispered. "So is yours," I replied. She gave a small smile, the kind that felt shy and brave at the same time. Then she leaned in slowly. I did not rush. I did not pull away. I just let the space between us disappear. When our lips touched, it was soft at first. Careful, like we were both testing if this was real. Her hand tightened slightly against my chest. My free hand moved to her waist without thinking. The kiss deepened, but it was not wild. It was warm and full of something that had been waiting. When we finally pulled back, her forehead rested against mine. We were both breathing unevenly. "This changes everything," she said. "I know." She stepped back just enough to look at me clearly. "You're my tenant," she said quietly. "If this goes wrong, it gets messy. People talk. It affects you." I nodded. I had thought about that too. But if it goes right, I asked. Her eyes softened. If it goes right, she said, it might be the best risk I ever take. Quote. The honesty in that made my chest ache. She walked over to the couch and sat down, motioning for me to join her. I sat beside her, close, but not touching at first. The tension was still there, but now it felt different, less sharp, more steady. I haven't let anyone close since Ryan, she admitted. He made me question myself, made me feel small. I felt anger rise inside me, but I stayed calm. You're not small, I said. She looked at me, really looked at me. Then, why do I feel scared right now, she asked. Because you care, I answered. She nodded slowly. The room felt warmer now, softer. The lamps in the living room cast a golden glow across her face. She looked beautiful, but more than that, she looked open. She reached for my hand again, this time pulling it gently into her lap. If we do this, she said, I don't want it to be a secret. I don't want to hide. The words surprised me. I don't want to hide either, I said. She studied my face like she was searching for doubt, but I did not feel doubt. I felt nervous. I felt aware of the risk, but I did not feel doubt. I've watched you for months, she admitted quietly. The way you help Mrs. Carter with her groceries, the way you fix things without asking for anything. You're not like him. The comparison was not flattering for Ryan, but I understood what she meant. I'm not perfect, I said. I don't need perfect, she replied. I need real. There was a pause. Then she leaned in and kissed me again, slower this time, deeper. Her fingers slid gently through my hair. My hands rested on her waist, pulling her closer. The world outside that house felt far away. After a while, she pulled back and rested her head against my shoulder. Stay tonight, she whispered. The request was soft but clear. I looked down at her. This was not about fixing lights anymore. This was about crossing a line that could not be uncrossed. Are you sure? I asked. She lifted her head and met my eyes. I locked the door for a reason, she said. My heart pounded again. But before I could answer, my phone buzzed loudly in my pocket. The sudden sound made both of us jump. I pulled it out, confused. It was a text message from Ryan. I stared at the screen, my stomach dropping. Emily noticed my expression. What is it? She asked. I slowly turned the phone so she could see. The message read, You might want to check the garage. You don't know her like you think you do. The words on the screen felt cold in my hands. Emily stared at the message, her face going pale for a second. Then her jaw tightened. Don't listen to him, she said quickly. He does this. He tries to get inside people's heads. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the way he wrote it felt planned. Calm, not angry. You don't know her like you think you do. It echoed in my mind. Emily stood up from the couch and ran a hand through her hair. He probably left something there on purpose just to mess with us. Left what? I asked. She hesitated. That's the thing, she said. I don't know. The air shifted again. The warmth from a few minutes ago felt fragile now. I'm not hiding anything from you, she said, stepping closer to me. If there's something in the garage, we'll check it together. Quote, her voice was steady, but I could see fear in her eyes. Not guilt, fear, I nodded slowly. Okay. We walked toward the garage door at the back of the house. Every step felt heavy. I kept thinking about the way Ryan looked at us before he left. The warning in his voice. Emily unlocked the door that led into the garage. The light inside flickered on. The space smelled like dust and old wood. Boxes lined one wall. A small workbench sat near the back. Everything looked normal at first glance. Then I saw it. A cardboard box sitting in the center of the floor. It had not been there before. Emily stepped forward carefully. That wasn't there earlier, she whispered. My chest tightened. The box was sealed with tape, but my name was written across the top in black marker. Daniel. I felt a chill run down my spine. Emily looked at me. I swear I didn't put that there. I know, I said, even though my voice sounded distant. She bent down slowly and peeled the tape off. The sound of it tearing felt loud in the quiet garage. When she opened the box, she froze. Inside were pictures, photos of me, walking to my car, carrying groceries, sitting on the steps outside my apartment. None of them were from tonight. They were from weeks ago. Maybe even months. My stomach dropped. Emily lifted one of the pictures with shaking hands. On the back, there was writing, "Tenants don't last." Her breath caught. "This is sick," she said softly. I felt anger rising in my chest now. Not fear, not confusion. Anger. "He's been watching you," she continued. "Maybe both of us." The idea made my skin crawl. I picked up another photo. It showed Emily and me talking outside one afternoon. We were laughing. It looked harmless. But the angle made it feel secretive. "He wanted you to see this," I said quietly. "He wanted to scare us." Emily stood up quickly and stepped closer to me. "I am not going back to that life," she said firmly. "I won't let him control me again." Her eyes were strong now, not scared, determined. I believed her. "Do you think he'll come back?" I asked. She shook her head. "Not tonight. He thinks this is enough." Quote. There was silence for a moment as we both looked down at the box again. "He wants you to doubt me," she said softly. "He wants you to walk away." I looked at her face. I saw fear, yes, but I also saw something deeper, hope. He almost succeeded, I admitted. Her expression fell slightly. "But he didn't," I added. She searched my eyes. "You're not scared?" she asked. "I am," I said honestly, "but I'm more scared of letting him win." Something changed in her face then. Relief, maybe even pride. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around me tightly. Not playful, not soft. Tight, like she needed to feel something real. "I'm sorry you got pulled into this," she whispered against my chest. "I walked into it," I replied. "Remember?" A small smile touched her lips. We stayed like that for a few seconds, holding each other in the quiet garage. Then she pulled back slightly. "If we're doing this," she said, "we do it right. No secrets, no fear." I nodded. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means tomorrow I call a lawyer," she said. "And I change the locks, and I stop letting him show up whenever he wants." Her strength surprised me again. "And us?" I asked. She looked at me in a way that felt clear and steady. "Us means I stop pretending you're just my tenant," she said. "It means we see where this goes. Openly." The word openly felt important. I glanced at the box one last time. Ryan had tried to plant doubt. Instead, he had forced everything into the open. Emily reached for my hand again. "Stay tonight," she said softly. "Not because I'm scared, but because I choose you here." There was no hesitation in her voice this time. I looked at her, at the strength in her eyes, at the warmth still between us, even after everything. "I'm staying," I said. We walked back into the house together, leaving the box behind. She locked the door again. This time, the sound of the lock did not feel like tension. It felt like a beginning.